A very good afternoon and welcome to The Ambassador, where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. I am your ambassador, Susan Nganga. Now, event calls for ending to violence in Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo, Mozambique, and Palestine. An international festival that brings together people worldwide began with a powerful message focused on peace and unity. The festival highlighted the ongoing humanitarian crisis in several African nations and Palestine, calling for an end to the violence and war. Here's more on that report.
The Human Rights International Festival concluded with a powerful message calling for peace in war-torn regions, focusing on Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Mozambique. The event organizers urged the silencing of guns and an end to the violence that has plagued these regions for years. The festival emphasized the importance of global unity in ending suffering and conflict, with a collective cry for peace echoing throughout the crowd.
It's an opportunity to ensure that we as a country go back to that spirit of Ubuntu, that we are made aware of where we come from, what do we stand for, and continually remind our youth and pass on intergenerational knowledge so that we can continue to become stronger as a nation.
The festival also spotlighted the resilience of the Palestinian people,
Palestine! Palestine!
with Palestinian musicians taking to the stage to showcase their culture and struggles for justice. They shared messages of hope and perseverance through music, dance, and poetry, reminding the world of their ongoing fight for peace and sovereignty. The event underscored the power of culture to unite, heal, and inspire, calling for solidarity and action to address the humanitarian crisis around the globe. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
Thank you, Teresa, for that report. Now we shift our focus to Zimbabwe. A sharp reduction in United States funding for HIV programs is threatening vital healthcare services, with clinics closing and awareness programs ending. Meanwhile, across the border in South Africa, the ongoing HIV crisis continues to claim lives, particularly among young women and girls. Experts warn that if these funding cuts are not reversed, the global HIV epidemic could worsen dramatically by the end of the decade. Here's more on that report.
In Zimbabwe, where the U.S. provides 80% of HIV-related funding, the recent cuts in financial aid are taking a heavy toll on the nation's ability to manage its HIV epidemic. Clinics have begun closing their doors, and many healthcare workers are no longer able to administer critical HIV tests. Programs that once raised awareness about prevention and health are now shutting down, leaving thousands vulnerable. The Zimbabwe National Network of People Living with HIV has reached out to the government, urging them to explore alternative sources of funding to continue these essential services. But as of now, the future remains uncertain.
And through the USAID, we've been doing programs the way we are trying to manage those situations. But now if the aid is nowhere, then it means that the stigma and isolation is going to be exacerbated. As an organization, we've been encouraging the ministry to probably look into alternative funding, be it local or international donors.
Across the border in South Africa, the situation is equally dire. With the highest number of people living with HIV in the world, 7.7 million out of the 39 million globally, South Africa is facing an alarming reality. More than 800 young women and adolescent girls between the ages of 15 and 24 become infected with HIV every week, a staggering statistic that highlights the ongoing struggle in the region.
HIV response in
Medical supply were blocked in March. Children like Sila and 11-year-old Rim are grappling with both physical and emotional pain, struggling to find a sense of normalcy in a life forever altered by conflict. With limited resources and mounting trauma, their futures remain uncertain. In a region where resources are scarce and suffering is widespread, the children of Gaza are caught in a cycle of pain, loss, and uncertainty, waiting for a future that remains out of reach. And that's all for now on our current segment. We'll be back after this break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Intricacy to polygamous marriage.
Many times we tend to fail to understand what is marriage. So I think before we define what
true.
polygamous marriage is, we need to understand what marriage is.
Don't you dare go into someone's marriage. Don't be that desperate. Don't stoop up that low. Wait upon your own appointed person. God was very particular from the book of Genesis when he said that it is not good for a man to be alone. So let me bring him a suitable helper. He didn't say suitable helpers. So that's where we miss the point. Nobody tells you about his weakness. He talks about the weakness of the other. Young girls, hizi mambo za kupewa malift na married men, she'll just stop. Honestly, I tell girls, afadhali ukae kwa jam kungoja gari.
Times na extend 2 wiki nzima napata shida simu yangu.
Everywhere, GBS.
Thank you for staying with us here at the Ambassador Now. South Africa's G20 Sherpa Zendango briefed the UN General Assembly as the country prepares to assume the G20 presidency from December 2024, with a focus on solidarity, equality, and sustainability. South Africa aims to tackle global challenges, prioritize equitable development, and amplify the voices of the Global South. Here's more on that report.
An informal meeting of the United Nations General Assembly was held in New York, where South Africa G20 Sherpa Zane Dago briefed the plenary as the country prepares to assume the G20 presidency from December 2024 to November 2025.
Welcome the African Union's inclusion in the G20, which is an important opportunity to amplify Africa's voice in global economic governance, while ensuring that the development priorities of the African continent and the Global South find expression firmly and permanently onto the agenda of the G20.
As we advance the implementation of the Pact for the Future, the Group of 20 will be critical to ensuring that inequities are addressed, more resources are provided, and better terms for development.
The G20, representing 85% of the global economy, 75% of the world trade, and 67% of the global population, is poised for a term focused on inclusivity, sustainability, and equitability development under South Africa's leadership. The African Union's inclusion in the G20 is a significant opportunity to amplify Africa's voice in global economic governance, ensuring the priorities of the Global South Africa are embedded in the G20 agenda. Paris Kigo, GBS News.
We'll keep you more updated as the story updates now. Green card holders once considered protected under U.S. immigration law are now facing heightened fears of arrest and deportation. Recent actions and threats from the Trump administration have put many residents who legally live and work in the United States at risk. As arrest continues and concerns grow, green card holders who've opposed the administration policy say their safety is increasingly uncertain. Here's more on that report.
For many immigrants, the green card is a dream come true. It grants permanent residency and the ability to live and work in the United States without fear of being sent away. As the Trump administration's tough stance on immigration intensifies, green card holders, once seen as shielded by their legal status, are now finding themselves caught in the crossfire. Recent reports show disturbing trends of arrests targeting those who speak out against the administration's policies. In several cases, green card holders have been detained, some even facing deportation despite having legal permissions to reside in the country. Critics say the crackdown threatens the rights of these individuals and undermines the processes made by the very system they entered under.
It's students like Mahmoud Khalil, or it's people in O'Hare Airport who have been rerouted, had valid visas, denied entry to the United States, and rerouted to a third country that they've never been to. All of these things are happening now.
Immigrant right groups are now calling for stronger protections for legal residents, urging Congress to take action and safeguard green card holders for deportation. Holders continue to feel safe in their own homes, or will they become the next targets in a growing battle over immigration policy? For now, uncertainty hangs heavy over millions of families, and the future of immigration law remains in flux. Reporting for GBS News, Irene Juguna.
Thank you, Irene, for that report. Now to stories that have just come in. Burundi is currently facing a significant humanitarian crisis, experiencing its largest influx of refugees in decades. Since January 2025, over 120,000 individuals, predominantly women and children, have fled the escalating conflict in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo to seek refuge in Burundi. This surge has placed immense strain on the World Food Programme's resources, leading to a reduction to food rations for refugees. Without additional funding, there is a real concern that food assistance may be suspended entirely by July 2025. The international community support is crucial to address the escalating crisis and prevent further deterioration of the humanitarian situation. We'll bring you the Burundi story as it develops now. Southern and Eastern Africa political blocs have expanded their mediation team to address the ongoing Rwanda-backed M23 rebel offensive in the Eastern Congo. The new team, including 5 former heads of state, aims to facilitate peace talks after the M23 recent military advances and stalled negotiation. Also, that story will bring you later. The United States has intensified airstrikes against Yemen's Houthi rebels, marking the 10th consecutive day of operation. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz confirmed the elimination of key Houthi leaders, including the top missile commander, with targets including leadership compounds, communication centers, weapon factories, and drone production facilities. Turkish police have detained over 1,100 people following 5 days of widespread protest triggered by the arrest of opposition leader Ekrem, the mayor of Istanbul. He, a key rival to President Erdogan, faces charges of corruption and aiding a terrorist organization, accusation that have sparked intense demonstrations across the country. This story will bring you as it develops later on in the day. And that's all for today at The Ambassador. Thank you for joining us as we uncover the latest development. We'll continue to bring you updates on these stories and more as they unfold. Remember, this is The Ambassador, where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. I have been your ambassador, Susan Nganga. Good afternoon.